Welcome to the MLB Coast to Coast podcast, brought to you by thelines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by my guy, Nate Weitzer on the East Coast. We also got Mo Nuara in the Midwest. And we are looking at a Wednesday slate here. A bunch of day games, fellas, but we do have some evening time stuff to look at here. A little bit smaller of a slate on this Wednesday night. Make sure you are liked and subscribed to that page. Continue to follow along with us as we are bringing you these videos each and every weekday of this regular season. Also want you to head to thelines.com. Got all of the great written content you guys need this summer, also into the fall, and also have our great odds checker on there as well. So you can go ahead and make sure you are shopping the lines to the best of your ability tonight in that Major League Baseball slate. And as always, if you do still need a FanDuel or DraftKings account, head to fdpicks.com or dkpicks.com. Find those listings in your area, such as skipping over what we have here on those day games. Like I said, we want to make sure we get this video out to you in time for these evening time games. So I'll kick it off with that Miami Marlins game and Sandy Alcantara on the mound against Noah Syndergaard. Pretty good matchup there. The Phils are minus 130 at home. The Blue Jays and Jose Barrios are in Baltimore once again against Dean Creamer, minus 155 for the Jays on the road in this one. Kyle Wright and the Bravos, we are going to be talking about this game as they are in Boston, taking on Nick Pivetta and the Sox, minus 135 for the Braves there. The Guardians and Aaron Saval are in Detroit, taking on Drew Hutchison, and the Guardians are minus 170 there on the road. Glenn Otto and the Texas Rangers, plus 260 on the road against Houston Astros, and Justin Verlander, minus 315 for the Stros. Huge favorites there for them at home. Jose Quintana on the road for his new team here, and the Cardinals in Colorado taking on Kyle Freeland, a game we are going to talk about as well, plus 135 for the Rockies at home. A total of 11 runs is normally what you can expect around this time of the year in Colorado. And the game we are going to going to end things with here is Pittsburgh and Mitch Keller on the mound against the Diamondbacks. Madison Bumgarner, minus 180 for him at home. But we kick things off for this slate with the Braves game that we talked about here. Kyle Wright, Nick Pivetta. Kick us off here, Mo. I know you like picking on Nick Pivetta, and this is not the greatest spot for him.
Yeah, Pivetta's had that crazy season we've talked about a lot on here for sure. And the last couple games, his fastball velocity has dipped back a little bit. It was 94 for a second, but it seems like that was kind of the outlier when I'm looking at his recent fastball velocities. 4 out of 5 are at 93 or lower, which is pretty bad, especially when he's been averaging 93 and a half, I think, this year. And last couple of years, it was like closer to 95. So it really seems like it can affect him at times because he's had some recent pretty poor starts. And I don't think this is the best matchup for him. The Braves have been the best team hitting fastballs, four-seam fastballs specifically, and Pivetta's so fastball heavy. He's usually around 50% fastballs. So just throwing a poor fastball a bunch against the Braves seems like a recipe for disaster. And I'm looking at the bullpen usage. That's also worrying me a little bit. I see that the Braves are using some good arms today for sure. Colin McHugh, Raisel Iglesias are throwing a bunch of pitches today, but they just have a much deeper bullpen basically than Boston. And Boston, Garrett Whitlock fired 2 innings today. I'm guessing he's not going to be available tomorrow. He's probably their best reliever, him and Matt Strahm, and I think Strahm is even hurt. So could be some ugliness in the Boston pen as well. This game was like minus 144, I think, for the Braves on FanDuel. I think that's a much better price. I think it's maybe still good for a small bet at that price, but the 135 on DraftKings is pretty good. So I hopped on that actually right before this call.
Yeah, it makes sense to hop on that if you can while this game's currently in extra innings. Of course, this will be airing tomorrow but the point is, yeah, Boston's arms have been a disaster in the last couple weeks. We talked about that going into this game where they've given up at least 6 runs. Pivetta, it's really the same kind of hard contact throughout the season, and we were scratching our heads wondering how he had won 5 starts in a row at one point. Well, the negative regression's here, and then now since the All-Star break, he has a 400 BABIP, 30% line drive rate overall when he gets into high leverage situations. That's definitely worrisome when you're at Fenway and line drives can result in extra base hits very easily. And Kyle Wright, I mean, he's got some very impressive stuff, but his line drive rate only 13% on the road. Also limits lefties very well on the road. Kind of a boom bust guy where he will give up the big fly or keep him on the ground. But lately, since the All-Star break, look at him, his 53% ground ball rate. That's something I would lean on at Fenway. That Braves infield being able to gobble things up, and if you can keep the Red Sox from hitting big flies and from playing wall ball, that offense is pretty boom bust as well, especially if you can limit those lefties like Rafa Devers. And I think Wright does match up well enough to do that. And I think we roll with the Braves again here.
Yep, tracking on that one for sure. I'm going to move us to a game that maybe the confidence level isn't quite as high for either of these teams. I think there's some conflicting stats here in this Cardinals and Rockies game, but it should be fun at the very least in Colorado. We do have that total of 11 runs. A few stats to throw at you guys here. I mean, the Cards are one of the hottest teams in baseball right now, as we know, 7-0 in their last 7. They've actually won 13 of the last 19 games they played against the Rockies as well. And the games have actually gone under between these two teams here and there. Obviously, the Rockies way better at home, right? The hugest splits pretty much in terms of their runs per game, home and road here with that altitude. So, I mean, really, to kick us off here with this one, Nate, what would you look at to begin with? Would it be the edge here for one of these two teams, or would it be that total in 11 runs?
Yeah, I got to lean towards the Cardinals just because of the whole mystique and because of what they can do in terms of grabbing a veteran pitcher like Jose Quintana and getting the most out of him. And in his first start there, looked very sharp. I mean, he gave just one hit in his first start under this Cardinal staff. Granted, he got lit up a couple weeks ago when he went to Coors with the Pirates. But, now I think he'll have a better approach. No Chris Bryant. He's injured. Connor Joe has been banged up and struggling when he's in there, and I think that's a huge difference. There are some notable home road splits, though, as you point to. The Rockies are above 500 at home, and they've already hung 13 runs on the Cardinals here, so snapping some of those trends. And the Cardinals below 500 on the road. Both these teams just mash against lefties. So, I mean, even an 11-run total, you might think about the over there, but I'm leaning towards the Redbirds just because of what they're able to do in terms of stringing together these wins, what they're able to do with these veteran pitchers. And Kyle Freeland, he's been great lately. I mean, really kind of off and on, but what I'm impressed with is that 3 of his last 8 starts against the Dodgers put up good numbers, 11% swinging strike rate, kept the exit velocity down, but he has struggled in small sample size against guys like Goldschmidt, guys like Arenado, who are just terrifying for any lefty to go up against. So I lean towards that Cardinals offense a little bit more and to them pulling out the win as we go to the second game of the series.
Yeah, at 11, I would have to say the over looks a little intriguing here. It's Coors in the summer, and like Nate said, it's two teams that hit lefties better, quite a bit better. So I'm definitely interested in the over here. I know Chris Bryant's out, but you can just see what the Rockies are doing right now. They still have plenty of power in their offense, and the Cardinals do have, like you said, lefty mashers extraordinaire, Goldie and Arenado. I do think Kyle Freeland's been doing good work lately, though. I mean, he was pretty poor early in the season. I had to downgrade him pretty hard in my talent estimations. But he's been picking it up lately. I know the numbers don't look amazing. Like, you look at a 4.56 ERA and a 4.23 FIP, but that's actually really good when you're playing half your games in Coors, and his home road splits are pretty reasonable for his career. So he's overall been pretty solid in Coors, and I just don't like fading the Rockies at home. Every year we see it. They have a much bigger home field than anybody else, and I know Quintana's been very good, and actually when I was looking at his numbers, he's actually been better than I thought, and I was already projecting him pretty decently, especially after how poor he's been the last few years. I was stunned how good he's been. He's even been better than I thought. So I do think these are solid pitchers, but man, against these lineups, Coors in the summer, it's going to be tough. Like we're seeing it right now. I mean, there's a 15-run game and we're not even halfway through it. So I definitely do lean a little towards over 11 here.
Yeah, so moving from a game full of runs, that's going to be probably pretty fun to watch. Let's go to your, I don't know, you want to call it your game of the night, Mo, with the Pirates and the D-backs right now. I mean, if ever there was a moment for the Pittsburgh Pirates to be able to score, it's, the hope that they can get a Diamondbacks bullpen in the game as early as possible. That being said, where do you lean in a game that shows us two pitchers? Neither of us probably, I wouldn't feel super comfortable betting on Madison Bumgarner anywhere near a minus 180 line, but maybe there's some reason to feel confident about Mitch Keller at plus 155.
Yeah, I think I'm just going to have to be ready for some more pain here. I guess the Rockies are just going to go 18 innings of getting shut out by the Diamondbacks. That seems hard to do, but I guess they can do it. Or the Pirates, rather.
Pirates,
yeah. I've talked a bunch about Mitch Keller, though. I mean, man, Mitch Keller is a pitcher that I trust at this point. I mean, look at his numbers since he went to a sinker-heavy approach. I mean, it's pretty crazy. 3.29 ERA, 3.72 FIP. I mean, these are very good numbers in a vacuum, but when you say these are the numbers for a guy who I think previous to that had like a career like 6.XX ERA or something, like he was so unbelievably bad, and it's been like just flipping a switch since he switched to throwing sinkers. He's been solid. I mean, almost 50% grounders. He's just a pretty good pitcher, I think, and just amazing consistency too. I mean, 6+ innings in 6 straight starts. He's just doing really, really good work. And against a weak Diamondbacks lineup, I just don't see how he can be this big of an underdog against, Madison Bumgarner, who is, I think, an inferior pitcher, to be honest. I know they have a better lineup, but yeah, I couldn't get them to this big of favorites. I thought they were more like minus 130 here, so plus 155 to me seems kind of insane. And yeah, I think the FanDuel line where I'm seeing a plus 142, that looks a little more reasonable here. Yeah, I'm already on the Pirates, so I'm going to just take 3 L's in a row probably because they just can't score. I mean, this offense is incredibly awful, but I don't know. Maybe the under is worth a look. I didn't even really look at the total for this one, but yeah, I mean, I'm seeing an 8. That seems a little high. Anything with Mitch Keller, he's just been an under machine, so it's probably fine to fire under there too.
Yeah, we've been talking about the heavy ball he's been throwing. Nate, you haven't been around enough to talk about the Pirates. We won't do that to you and make you have an opinion there on that one for sure. That's going to require a bit more downtime watching baseball, I imagine. But that is all the time we have for you guys in this one. Make sure you are liked and subscribed to that page. Continue to follow along with us. We are bringing you these videos each and every weekday of this regular season. So until we see you next, happy betting.